And it says we are live.
Oh, jolly good.
Once
Part
again.
of me, I've got my real hair today.
Yeah, her hat's in the wash today.
I've given my wig a day off. Yeah.
So happy 10th of June, everybody. Halfway through summer. Do you realize on the 21st, the nights start drawing into Christmas? We'll have to get Martin to get the tree down.
Get the tree down.
Anyway, so we're really excited about our old friend and guest joining us today. He's in between gigging. I don't know where he found the time for us, but after some 30 plus years, our guest Herman Matthews has accomplished quite an impressive resume and has created a strong foundation for some of the industry's finest artists. He's dubbed the Groove Guy and often called the Hermanator. Herman moved to Los Angeles from Houston, Texas with just one thing in mind: to work, work, work. He's had the great fortune of working with such artists as Kenny Loggins, Richard Marx, Tower of Power, the Isley brothers, Kirk Whalum, one of my personal favorites, George Duke, Bob James, Timothy B. Schmit, Tom Hughes, Hugh Laurie, Greg Adams and East Bay Soul, Patty Austin, are you keeping count? Chris Botti, James Ingram, Boney James, Stephen Stills, Edgar Winter, one of our old clients, or still client, Luther Vandross, Celine Dion, Patty Austin, Sheryl Crow, Babyface Edmonds, Chaka Khan, Carole King, the list goes on and on. Fee Waybill, Diane Reeves, Kenny G, another McCartney client,
Yeah.
Maxi Priest, another favorite, John Farnham, Snuffy Walden, and it just keeps going. During the early 90s, he was a member of the house band Into the Night, starring Rick Dees. I wonder how many of you remember that great show.
I do. Yeah.
And he's even appeared on some long-lost Ruth McCartney tracks produced by Barry Coffin.
Did you ever get paid?
We'll find out in a minute. Herman was a member of the soul funk horn band Tower of Power from 94 to 98, another McCartney client. And he's recorded CDs Sold Out and Rhythm and Business, co-writing and singing the title track of Rhythm and Business. He's been the first call subbing for David Garibaldi, touring with the band in 2015 and 17. And Matthews was literally touring nonstop in the year 2017, juggling between touring acts Timothy B. Schmit, Kenny Loggins, Tower of Power, and Richard Marx. Drummer extraordinaire Peter Erskine of Weather Report and Steps Ahead put it very simply: Herman Matthews is the most powerfully funky drummer I've ever heard. Count me in as one of his biggest fans. And legendary drummer James Gadson, who's played with Bill Withers, Charles Wright's Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band, says Herman Matthews is simply the truth. So to tell us the truth and get it all out in paradiddles, here is, without further ado, Mr. Herman Matthews. Hi, Herman.
Come on down.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Good. Great
Lovely
to see you. And thanks again for taking the time. I know you're gigging, so.
Yeah.
Well, it is indeed my pleasure to be here. Thank you for asking me. And,
Oh, our pleasure.
and as I hear the reading of the resume, it just sounds like I can't keep a gig. My goodness.
No, I think it sounds like you're in demand.
Absolutely. They're all fighting over you, obviously. So now, I'd like to ask you about the early years. You grew up
Sure.
in Houston, Texas.
Yes.
How did that musical environment shape your rhythm and your groove early on?
You know, it was a perfect environment to grow up in as a musician. Houston, a lot of wonderful, incredible musicians. And it wasn't, it's not like LA or New York or Nashville where, you know, it's overpopulated with musicians. So I had the opportunity to do a lot of playing with a lot of older musicians and kind of got my footing, you know, working with the, I guess I would consider them my heroes.
Yeah.
You know, so I had a wonderful opportunity to learn my craft.
That's great. So do you remember the moment, was it as a child or as a adolescent, that you knew drumming was it? I mean, was it somebody in your family or your community or something you heard on the radio or so on? What was that light bulb moment for you?
Well, first of all, my mother played piano and organ in the church. And I played with my uncle's organ trio. And I mean, his shtick was, you know, here he is with his two nephews. And we were the kids and we were playing in what my mother would call juke giants.
Yes.
And that was that. But really early on, I was watching the Lawrence Welk show.
Oh, good grief.
Right. That's how long ago that was. And I I looked up and I saw the drummer playing, and I said, "That's what I want to do." So that was like at age 7.
Well, I was
my
going to say,
God.
how old would you be?
Yeah, that was 7. So,
Good.
and of course, back then, I think that we had an advantage because, unlike today, where you have the YouTube and everything is sort of instant, I would just watch those TV shows with those musicians playing, and I wanted to do that. And so it took time to soak in.
Yeah, that's a lot of the musicians and producers that we've interviewed in our almost 200 episodes here. Can you believe we've been doing this?
Wow.
They all seem to come to the realization of something just hits them through either TV or radio or a vinyl somebody brought home. And they're all between the ages of 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's really incredible that this is why I think music in the schools is so important.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. My mother my mother was a fan of all music. I mean, I said she played in the church, but she danced at all the clubs and was digging and all that. But I mean, growing up on the music of Motown and Stax, all of that. I mean, I had that in my household, and it was amazing. I mean, my mom would she would wake us up to go see like James Brown on the television, or Little Richard, or Liberace. It didn't matter. She would wake us up to see all of the artists that were on TV. Yes.
Yeah, the first record I bought was Frida Payne, Band of Gold.
Oh, wonderful record. Wonderful lady as well. I've worked with her.
Really? Oh, I loved to have met her. And I played it over and over and over. And eventually one of the little, the edge of the vinyl got chipped, and I cried for about an hour. I was like, I'll never hear that song again.
Oh, yes, you will.
And my dad said, no, you just don't put it on the chipped edge. Put the needle a quarter way. So I missed the first ding, 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 ding. ding. I could hear it after that.
Right. I love it.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Now, you've been dubbed the groove guy, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am.
So, who were your groove heroes?
Oh, wow. I mean, you know what? If you listen to all drummers, I mean, groove is, a part of their thing. But I mean, my heroes, being from Harvey Mason, Steve Gadd. I mean, even early on with the Stax drummers, I am a disciple of Al Jackson Jr., who's the drummer. Yeah. Who is a drummer that you understand who he is, and also Earl Palmer, who played on all of the Little Richards and Fats Domino stuff, and then later on became part of the Wrecking Crew here in Los Angeles. So those two, Al Jackson Jr. and Earl Palmer, my main heroes, my inspiration to this day. Right. Those are the guys that I think of.
Interesting.
I was watching the other day on the weekend your DW Top 5 Tracks interview that you did on YouTube, and Bernard Purdie and the Shuffle, and I think the average man or woman in the street doesn't really realize how complicated percussion is. I won't call it drumming. It's percussion. It's really a part of not just your brain, but it engages your whole sense and your whole body when you play, right?
Right. Well, what I always said that everyone has an inner thing. I mean, an inner tribal, thing. You're right. Yeah. Rhythm, and whether they can do something with it, that's the other thing. Yes, drumming. I always equate drumming to the layman is that when you're walking. You put your left foot out and then your right foot out and then your arms are swinging and all of that has to happen at the same time. That's the same thing with drumming, except that you're figuring out rhythms and complex things and I don't know.
Well, and different heights and different, I've seen, I think the last time I saw you was with Albert Lee. At the Canyon, and sometimes you'll show up and you have to bring your own kit, and sometimes there'll be a house kit, and the stool won't be the right height. But I mean, just the smallest thing can throw you off, right?
Yes, and I'm particular about my things as well. Now, I mean, I suck it up and do what I have to do in order to make it work. But I've gotten so used to playing on foreign kits. All I need is a kick drum, a snare drum, a hi-hat, and maybe a ride cymbal. And I keep it simple in that way and try to make the most music I can from that.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the school of Charlie Watts, isn't it? He didn't have a lot of drums.
Correct. One of my heroes as well.
Yeah.
Right. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed, but playing drums or drumming for so long, I can do things with my left hand as well.
Because we often talk about on this show how the rhythm section of the Beatles, Paul and Ringo, were both left-handed.
Right.
And Ringo in the early days, you got a gig in a club or a pub in Liverpool or Hamburg or wherever, and there was a house kit, and it was set up like a kit. It wasn't anything special for a left-handed drummer.
Right. I will say, his brilliance is the fact that he was a left-handed drummer playing on a right-handed kit.
Right.
So all of his drum fills led with his left hand, which, when trying to figure that out, I was like, how is that happening? And then ding, he's left-handed. So,
Yeah. It really does make a difference how the brain will process things, isn't it? Right brain, left hand, right hand, foot.
Correct.
All of that stuff.
Correct.
We were watching the new documentary Becoming Led Zeppelin last night, which I highly recommended on Netflix. And they did a whole piece about, of course, John Bonham, who was very rarely interviewed, but they had some great audio of him. And they of course asked him, well, what was your moment? And he said he saw a film when he was very young of Gene Krupa. And that influenced him that, the drums could actually have a voice, not just be at the back of the stage.
And oh my goodness, I mean, Bonham, still to this day, we are doing and figuring out things that he did. Someone once told me who saw Bonham play, he was like the Buddy Rich of rock music.
Yep.
John Bonham, one of my biggest heroes overall with what's happening with drumming today.
Right.
Yes.
And I think Steve Gadd took more than a little hint from John Bonham too, right?
Oh, Gadd is probably one of a fine gentleman. He is probably one of the finest musicians I've ever met. Not just drummers, but just musically. He is outstanding. So there you go.
Yeah, and when you think about Led Zeppelin, only had 3 instruments. They had John Paul Jones on bass, Jimmy Page on guitar. I mean, obviously Robert Plant's voice is an instrument, but it's a 3-piece band like the Police. But
and being from Texas, first of all, yes, Led Zeppelin made a lot of noise with what they had. And being from Texas, ZZ Top being a trio, once again. A lot of noise for just 3 people.
That's right. Our friend Paul Moody, whose lovely late mum Jeannie was a big jazz concert sponsor down here in Playa del Rey. He's asking if either you or anybody in the crowd has any recollections of Louis Bellson. Okay,
Louis Bellson. All right. Well, no, Louis Bellson, who, by the way, you put him in the same category as a Buddy Rich and all. When I was a kid, I went to FM Black Junior High School in Houston, Texas. My band director, Ann Price, God bless her, I love her. She took me to a Louis Bellson clinic at the high school for the performing and visual arts, where I ended up going. But I saw a Louis Bellson clinic, and he was not only an incredible musician, an incredible drummer, but very personable, and the nicest guy. And I got a chance to speak to him and told him that that Gene Krupa was one of my heroes as well. Right. And so years later, I'm playing in the HSPVA, or High School for Performing and Visual Arts, big band at a festival, and Louis Bellson was one of the headliners. And when I went up to introduce myself, I said, my name is, and he says Herman Matthews.
Oh,
And I'm going, because he remembered,
Wow.
from back then. So yes, he's the kindest and just, I God bless him.
Yeah, that's great. Our friend Karen from Edinburgh in Scotland is saying, hi, Herman. I was listening to Outside from the Redwoods, the Kenny Loggins just this morning. Great album.
Yeah, that was a great album. And by that time, I had already left Kenny Loggins, and I was on with Kirk Whalum to open for Whitney Houston. When I got back from rehearsals, there was a phone call or a message waiting for me from Kenny saying, Herman, can you fly out to the Redwoods or to that area? And because I need you to play on 3 songs.
Oh, great.
So yes,
were you able to? Oh, fabulous.
Yes, flew in, had a quick rehearsal, did the 3 songs, and this is not a nudge to the drummer that was playing. It was just that Kenny, and I love Kenny Loggins, but he can be a pain in the ass. So, so he was just used to a certain thing, and so yes, I was able to make that happen.
That's great. Well, in this case, it worked out in your favor because he wanted the Hermanator groove on those 3 songs. So
Indeed.
But isn't it great the way music ties the world? I mean, Karen's sitting in Edinburgh and we're all sitting in LA, and through a happenstance of Kenny Loggins calling, leaving you a message, he's able to hear you on those songs.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed.
It's a fabulous thing. Is there a drummer out there? I'm going back to your DW interview. Is there a drummer out there or a specific track, like you mentioned Bernard Purdy's groove on early Aretha recordings?
Oh,
is
yeah.
Is there one fill where you say, damn, I wish I'd written that or thought of that or played that? Or
Oh, my goodness. So many drummers. I mean, my heroes today, Charlie Drayton, the drummer who, he's played on many things, but if you remember the vinyls, I Touch Myself.
Yep.
That was Charlie Drayton playing on it. He played on Love Shack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's a dear friend. And yes, there are things that he does, and the simplest of things that he's done. And I said, I wish I would have thought of that.
yeah.
Wow. And the other is Steve Jordan, who is now a Rolling Stone. He took Charlie Watts' place. His approach to music, so many things that he's done where I'm thinking, God, I wish I would have thought of that. So yeah, I mean, and they're just musical approaches to things, so
right.
Yeah.
Right. Elizabeth in PA, she's saying Ginger Baker smashed it also. When you think about how many famous drummers there are, it's really quite impressive. The noise you guys make at the back of the stage is really touching people's hearts.
Oh, and by the way, Dennis Iwell is putting out a book in September.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll let you know more about it. Yeah.
Exactly. Being a drummer, I teach at the Los Angeles College of Music, and I teach a performance class. And what I'm teaching those drummers basically is how to play in a group setting without having the lead singer turn around and throw their microphone at them. So I'm trying to teach them to be the best musicians that they can be, not necessarily the best drummers that they can be.
Right.
Because I think there's a way of drumming to where you can uplift a song without necessarily being the one making noise back there. So,
right. Well, I mean, a lot of times we talk about, I don't think back in the day, it happens now, but Ringo got credit for a lot of the actual arranging. I mean, the way he could change from 4/4 to 3/4, and then, he knew when to do his fills and he knew when to shut up and let George's little guitar creep in,
Right. Well, this is the other thing too. I mean, there's always that debate about Ringo and his drumming, and I am a Ringo fan.
Yeah.
And what people don't quite understand is that he was playing in a band with 2 amazing writers.
Yeah.
And they had their ideas of the way certain things should be. So here he is trying to navigate and step around, how to make this song happen with those ideas. I mean, Paul McCartney, a drummer. So he's trying to please him. He's trying to please, John. And I mean, two of the most gifted writers.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, so he was a great
diplomat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. A diplomat in trying to make that thing happen in a musical way.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And always with a great sunny nature, good sense of humor.
Absolutely.
Yes.
To handle things. Yeah.
But our friend Barbara's saying, Herman, you are the heartbeat and the backbone. Very
well.
sweet.
And some would say even the bus. What is it? The bus driver of it all. Yes. But you're right. You're right. Yeah, the heartbeat of it. Yes.
I remember when Paul first met Linda in the late 60s, and he brought her and her daughter Heather C. McCartney home, and he wanted to show Linda his Liverpool. And so I went with them to keep little Heather company, and we went to the old original Cavern on Matthew Street before they tore it down. Yeah. And it was a Saturday morning about 11:30. Of course, it wasn't open. They didn't open during the day in those days. And we found a cleaning lady going in, and Paul said, "Oh, can I go down with you? I want to show my girlfriend, the band room and the stage and this and that and the other." And there was a kit on the stage, and he got up and played the drums for me and Linda and Heather and the cleaning lady.
There you go. Any stage, anywhere. Let's go.
He can play the trumpet. If you show Paul an instrument, once he figures out which is the sharp end, he's the blunt end. And the blunt end, he's all over it.
The true testament of a true musician.
Absolutely. Now, Karen from Scotland is saying he said it on here many times, but Ringo's drumming on A Day in the Life is one of the best examples of ever placing drums in a song.
Oh yeah. And we're still doing things that Ringo did. I mean, you're putting cloths over drums and do Ringo is magnificent. I got a chance to go to a session. He wasn't there, but I heard what he had put down. Yeah. As soon as he sat down and just played his feel, it was like, that's Ringo. It was amazing.
That's right. I mean, speaking of course, because everybody has their favorite kind of drums. Ringo's always played that Pearl kit. But answer the question.
Yeah. Well, you're known as a DW artist. What sets DW apart from other drum brands that you've played?
Wow. I consider DW to be one of the most innovative drum companies. Oh. I mean, literally, they're tapping or finding the timbre of the shell. In other words, when you buy a DW kit or when you get a DW kit, it's all cut from the same tree.
Wow. Really?
You understand what I'm saying? Wow. So whereas other companies, you would have a 10-inch drum, a 12-inch drum, a 13, 14, 16, they would just get shells. Right. Whereas DW, it's all the same wood from the same tree. And then they also, you can tap each shell and it has a note, and that's what that shell is tuned to. Wow. So they'll even stamp the note on the shell saying this is where you should tune it.
Wow.
So
I think a lot of people don't know that you can tune drums.
Oh yeah, most definitely. You have. I mean, I guess when you hear drums and everything is right, you don't notice. But when it's wrong, then you can definitely notice that things are not tuned correctly.
Right. It's like a triangle made out of a coat hanger from the dry cleaners. Right?
There you go. Correct.
It's not going to sound the same. I didn't realize DW cut them all from the same tree, though. Good grief.
Well, when they, oh God, this is sort of back in the old days, all of the top of the line drums, all of them were, they used one shell, and they were called Keller shells. So basically they all used the same wood, same company. And then they stamped their name on it.
Branding.
Now DW manufactures their own drum shell.
Oh,
so they whether it be wood from Lake Superior or wood from Stradivarius or wood from it's all they cut it, shave it, mold it themselves now.
Wow. So, Martin's asking, what about Ludwig, which was his? He's got the name Ludwig in his family.
Right. wonderful, wonderful drums. I mean, there were like, 3 or 4 drum companies who really started it all, and Ludwig was one of them, or Ludwig. Yeah. I still, I mean, if you can find, an old Gretsch, an old Ludwig, an old Rogers kit, built back in the day, get them. Rogers, yes, Rogers, yes.
Whole thing.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, I mean, craftsmanship, I think, for a few years there went by the wayside, and they were probably, molding them out of some kind of formica plastic wood, and get the price down and make it cheap and whatever. But it's amazing. It's amazing what the human ear can hear, and the vibration of the human body can. You can tell the difference. You just can.
It's the brain. It's the brain.
And I mean, to a certain degree, it doesn't matter the brand of drum, as long as you can tune it correctly and make it sound good. I just purchased a Kent snare drum. Kent was sort of like the first like most drummers, their first drum kit. Mine was from Sears, and it was an Apollo kit. But I found this Kent snare drum that I don't think the person who was selling it understood what it was. Okay. And got it at a very reasonable price. And I just took it in to have it refurbished. And it's an amazing drum. That sounds amazing. I called Steve Jordan and asked him about it, saying, "Hey, man, this is what I'm getting for this Kent drum." And he says, "If you don't buy it, I will." So.
Oh, wow.
I bet if the seller is watching right now.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So that kind of nicks my next question. Is there a specific kit or setup? So you do mix and match. You'll play a Kent with your DWs, or
my snare drums. I have.
Yeah.
What is that question? How many snare drums, does the drummer need? Yeah, he says one more. And I made the mistake of talking to my wife and saying, "Well, how many pairs of shoes?"
Just what I said.
Right, and she's like going, "I don't know. How many snare drums did you?" So it kind of gets into,
I just wanted to say, you got more snare drums than Mrs. Matthews has shoes.
Yes, indeed. And so it all comes down to I am a DW. I am a fanatic. I play DW drums, and religiously I sing their praises. Right. Snare drums, I use everything from DW to Kent to everyone. I use all snare drums depending on the session, depending on the song. That is that determines the true voice of what you're playing.
Right. Oh. And how about why do you think Zildjian is the most recognizable brand? It's the Coca-Cola of cymbals, isn't it?
Well, Zildjian, because they started way back in the day in Turkey, and the first family of cymbal making, Istanbul and all that back then. Now I'm a Sabian.
I was just going to say Sabian is the other.
I'm a Sabian. Now what people don't understand or realize is that Sabian is from Zildjian.
Oh,
right. There were 2 brothers. There
another brother story. Wow.
There were 2 brothers, and with the big fallout, one of the brothers took one formula and the other brother took the other formula, and the stipulation was you can't use the family name. You can't use Zildjian. So what they did, he took the first 2 letters of his first 3 children. Sally, Billy, and Andy, and made Sabian.
Oh, good grief.
Sabian is basically Zildjian, but the other formula.
That's another brother story. I learned recently that the owners of Lidl grocery stores and Aldi are brothers, had a formula, went separate ways. And also when I lived in Munich, when I was making records with Barry Coughing that you very generously played on some of them.
Yes.
And then I moved to Munich for my deal with the big mean Germans, BMG, and that Adidas and Puma are the Dassler brothers.
Oh, wow.
Adolf Dassler is Adi is his nickname. Adolf Adi Dassler is Adidas, and he's the one that got the college. He was the older brother. They didn't have enough money to send them both to college and university, and the younger brother Rudolf Dassler never got the education that Adi did, but said, "Well, screw you, I'm starting Puma."
There you go.
Another story like that. I didn't know Sabian and Zildjian were related.
Yeah. Same thing.
Good grief.
Fascinating.
So we've talked a little bit about, your sessions and Houston and whatever. Ange was curious.
Yeah. What was your first big break when you came to Los Angeles? And what advice would you give to younger musicians trying to break in today?
Wow. Well, the whole thing about me moving to Los Angeles, I was working in a very popular band in Houston when Houston was vibrant, when it was booming with the entertainment and all. And one of those groups was with Barry, a group called New Toys. Eventually, it worked itself into, we're playing, 6 nighs a week in one place. And filling the room. The place was just packed. And then eventually the oil kind of ran out of the Houston thing. And then everything, we went from playing to packed houses in Houston to playing an hour outside of Houston to the Holiday Inn where 4 people were.
Galveston, right?
Yeah, right. Or Baytown and Bay City and all those places. I decided driving home one night, I said, I'm going to move to LA. Well, it was either New York, Nashville, or LA, and I chose I chose LA because of the weather.
Yep.
And literally 3 days later, I get a phone call from Kirk Whalum.
Oh.
And Kirk Whalum says, Herman, I want you to be in my band. The only thing is, you have to move to LA. And so I went, okay, perfect, let's go. My second night in LA, I played a place called the Baked Potato.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And my second and third night in LA after moving, and 4 sold out shows there. And I got, I guess, the rest of my gigs, or my first 2 major gigs, from those 2 nights at the Baked Potato.
You must have been pretty good.
Well, not only pretty good, I guess. I mean, because you definitely have to deliver, but I was just in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got an audition with Al Jarreau. I got my next gig with Bob James from those nights there, and so I was pretty fortunate.
Yeah.
That's and then Barry and Bruce Atkinson and Osama moved out here afterwards, right? And did a bunch of work with Steve Tyrell.
They did. Yes, they did. They did. Soon after, I mean, when I had the idea to move to Los Angeles, soon after that, everyone else joined me, so
that's right. Okay. No, that was how we met through Barry and Steve.
Correct.
I mean, Steve is still a client of ours to this day. I mean,
all right. There you go.
30-something years. It's truly amazing.
The man with the voice.
And how. Absolutely. So how do you adapt? You've got Tom Jones, you've got a Tom Jones gig on one side, but then you're in the band of Tower of Power. How do you mentally prepare or adapt to all of the different, not just creative styles of music, but the personalities and the tour? Do you just kind of go with the flow, or do you have a plan to deal with people?
Well, that goes into with the advice of giving to young people, as you were saying there. The thing is, listen to everything. Listen, I mean, I was fortunate enough to grow up in a household where, I would listen to Motown, Stax, and the whole Philadelphia thing, and Memphis, but also too turn on the radio and hear the Beatles, and hear the Rolling Stones, and hear the Captain and Tennille, and I mean everything. Music, it was always music. And not only that, I mean, I was playing jazz and big band as well. So listening to big band music and the music of my grandparents and all of that, it all, you have to be a lover of music.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so working with, say, a Tom Jones, and I get this question a lot, going from Tom Jones to Timothy B. Schmit to Tower of Power, just, and one would think that there's a difference, and there is. But for me, all I'm playing the same way and just playing musically, or as musically as I can, just trying to lay down the foundation of the groove and the beat of it. Now, with Timothy B. Schmit, I have to play a little more gently, and that's more of a singer-songwriter thing. And playing with Tom Jones, I love doing that because he had hits in every decade from the 60s
all the way up
until up to now. So that was a challenge because I was trying to mimic the drummers from England and the drummers from that he had back in those days. Now working with Tower of Power, I mean, I want to say all of the musicians, we were fans. So what Garibaldi or David Garibaldi was doing back then was basically playing like the drummers that grew up in my neighborhood. They were playing a certain kind of funk. So I grew up with that. So, it's just wrapping your mind around the different categories, I guess, of music. And
well, I mean, it's obvious it's in your blood. So, I mean, it kind of has to be. You can teach somebody an instrument, but the rest of it just has to be organically there, right?
Yeah, correct. You're right.
Yeah, and aren't we blessed when we find in life what we're good at and what we enjoy to do, and share it with people. I mean, there are missed planes and lost luggage and crap food, but at the end of the day, when you think how many people you have made happy, it's got to be so rewarding.
That's the other thing too. When I catch myself complaining, I'm like, well, wait, what are you? Why? I mean, exactly. I always say I've been lucky, fortunate, and blessed to do the thing that I'm doing, and still doing it at age 64. So
you're just a child.
But I know, right? God bless you, dear. Oh my goodness. But like I say, I'm fortunate, and I have really nothing to complain about. I when my wife, she says, Herman, are you working? I said, I wish I could be working enough, and as she's trying to schedule just a dinner for us to go out, and I'm looking, I'm saying, well, I'm always complaining that I'm not working enough, but then I have no room in my schedule to make for my wife, so so I'm working plenty, so I'm thankful.
Good.
That's right. Our friend who's also Houstonian, Mark Lindsay, do you have a comment on the ever-growing size of kits that are being put together nowadays? The kits just seem to get bigger and bigger and bigger, don't they?
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny. The first time I saw, I would always see rock drummers, and not just rock drummers, but Billy Cobham, and I would see this massive kit, and for a while I played what I would consider a large kit. Was basically a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 6-piece kit, 2 tom-toms, 2 floor toms, a kick drum, and a snare. And for me, that was a large kit.
Wow.
But then I wrapped my mind around my heroes once again, Al Jackson Jr.,
The old guard, right?
Well, the old guard. I mean, Earl Palmer's, the Ringos. When I would see him making the music that he was making, I was like, wait a minute. The Charlie Watts. I mean, it was the jazz players who was playing a 4-piece kit. Now I would say a 4-piece kit is what I usually play, and maybe an extra floor tom, when I'm doing a bigger gig. Right. But yeah, I try to tell musicians or drummers that you should be able to play a gig with a kick, snare, and a hi-hat.
Wow. Okay.
You should be able to.
Yeah.
All the rest of it is sort of the candy or the icing and just the fun of doing that. Now, don't get me wrong. when I look at Terry Bozzio, who
Yeah.
has the kit of doom, he's able to make beautiful music from that. It's just too much for me to think of to
I
hit
was working
anymore.
on in the 80s. I was working on a music video with a hair metal band called Quiet Riot. And we were out in South Pasadena in an old abandoned power station, and they had a 360 kit. I think it must have been a 100-piece kit. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Oh my.
And the drummer was going around and around and around on a stool, and they had a camera on a gyroscope, and so it was at the beginning of AIDS, and they wanted to make a political statement. So they wanted to unroll a condom on the top of every symbol. Right.
Oh, okay.
And so I said, well, I have to make a run to the thrifty drugstore. How many do you need? And they're like, oh, well, I don't know. Get 3 dozen, 4, I don't know. So I said, okay, I'm going to the store. Anybody need anything? And the wardrobe lady said, oh, yes, we're coming back tomorrow. So we have to Polaroid all the extras so they all wear the same thing. And then the director said, well, yeah, get some wrap beers, get like 3 cases of beer and a dozen bottles of, Jack Daniels and this, that, and the other. So there I am at 10 o'clock in South Pasadena on Fair Oaks Avenue.
On a Sunday.
22 years old, 23 years old, on a Sunday with the company gold card. And I've got like 6 dozen condoms, 3 cases of beer, 4 cases of Polaroid film, and 6 bottles of Jack Daniels.
I can only imagine. My goodness.
And I check it out, and the guy behind me in the shopping line goes, do you need any help out? Should I follow you home and help you unload? Like, where are you going on a Sunday morning? I said, it's a music video shoot. He said, sure it is.
I love it. I love it. Well, the thing is with part of it, I mean, and this goes into part of it with all of the drums and all of the things. Part of it is a spectacle. It is the show. And the plus is if a drummer can play all of that, then God bless. It also goes down to, people always look for the drum solo at the concert. They want to hear the big, and I have never been a fan of that either. I mean, literally, as much as I love Van Halen and watching Alex play, whenever he got time to do his drum solo, that's when I would get up and say, okay, who wants a beer? And I would go and get all, I just find in some cases it's the least musical part of a show. Now, don't get me wrong. There are many drummers who can play excellent drum solos, and they're incredible. I'm just not one of those guys that
you don't want to be the belle of the ball.
Yeah, I don't look forward to doing that. You can just give me my drum kit. You don't have to give me a stage or a drum riser. Just put me on the floor. You don't have to light me up. Just pay me at the end of the night when I.
That's right. An old friend of the show, Patty Patow, is saying, "Hello, Herman. You are the best. Hanging with you in the K. Loggins days was a thrill. You're a gentleman, if ever there was one. Stay well."
Oh, bless you, dear. Bless you. It's good seeing you, Patty. My goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your own band, Fatback Earl and me. So,
okay.
What inspired this project? How did the group come together?
How did it come together? Listening to all of the bad bands that are out there and wedding bands and things of that nature. The reason why my band exists is because I didn't want to be those bands. Now, once again, let me clarify. There are many incredible working musicians who play in wedding bands.
And we need them.
Yeah, and we need them, yes. What I wanted, because I have a problem with featuring me, and the whole drum solo thing and all of that, I always tell people I decided to put together a band so that I wouldn't have to do a drum solo. With me, the love of horns and playing with bands like Tower of Power. Let me start it this way. You remember the club Cafe Cordial?
Oh, yes, on Ventura Boulevard.
So I would put together bands, they would let me do that and just, I would call it a different name every week and just have fun playing music. And because we weren't getting paid a whole lot of money, my thing was, well, if the song requires 2 guitarists and 3 horns and an organ player, why not bring everybody in? We're not getting paid anyways, so let's just have fun.
All right.
So the start of Fatback Earl and Me was sort of reminiscent of those days.
I see.
And I said, well, let's put together a band. And I have 2 singers, 3 horn players, an organ player, a keyboard player, a percussionist, a guitar player, a bass player, and drums. And it was only supposed to be for 1 or 2 shows.
Yeah.
But it has caught on.
Yep.
So now we're playing once a month, whether it be at the Baked Potato or coming up soon at Herb Opler's Vibrato, July 2nd. Yeah, right. Or whether it be at Club Louis, which used to be Bogey's. We're playing once a month, and which is really enough for us. But it's sort of a kind of a band. If you know who the Tedeschi Trucks band is, or the Allman Brothers band, if those bands signed to Stax Records, that's the kind of band Fatback Earl and Me is.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
That's you can also find much more about that and the gigs on Herman's website, which is scrolling across the bottom, hermanmatthews.com.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, you play up, you even go up to Ventura to the Grape, and you're all over the place, aren't you?
Well, we're trying to be. I'm trying to find a club with a stage big enough for the band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, which doesn't explain the Baked Potato, which is worth the price of admission just to see all of us get on that little bitty stage.
Right.
But
we had Don Randy on here a couple months ago. He's a character.
Don, I love Don.
That's great. Yeah.
He's the godfather of keeping all that going. God bless him. Survived through COVID and all.
Yes. That club is a blueprint for what to do. You know, so.
No, and his son is heavily involved. He's a great guy. So you mentioned you're playing Vibrato Grill and Jazz on July 2nd.
Oh yes.
And
for the first time, it's our debut at that club.
Oh.
Right.
And my thing is that I mean, this is how you every time you want to get a gig someplace, you take the worst night and you prove to them that you can build it up.
Yeah, I see.
So when they offered us Wednesday night, and I was like, that's going to be tough. But we did it at the Baked Potato on a Monday night, and we sell out. So if I can manage to sell out at Vibrato on a Wednesday night, we've proven ourselves.
But it's a holiday week too. I think a lot of people will be off work, and that it's Wednesday is probably the new Friday for that week because the 4th of July falls on Friday.
From your mouth to God's ears, I'm hoping that happens.
Right. I mean, what a great way to start the weekend up at Herb Alpert's joint with you guys and all of the fabulous music.
It's a lovely venue, isn't it?
Yes,
I
it
love
is.
it. Yeah.
It is, and it's great because it's accessible from the west side, the valley. It's in a perfect spot.
Great music, great food, great people,
and good sound. I love the sound in that room.
A wonderful bar.
A wonderful bar. Yeah. Speaking of which, we would love to thank you once again for making the time for us today. I know how crazy busy you are, but our regular viewers will know that the Limerick lady here, Angie, has a book called Mrs. McCartney's Liverpool Limericks and Other Random Irish Haikus.
I love it.
So we have written you your own personalized limerick. So if you're sitting comfortably, we shall.
Yes, please.
And a 1, 2, 3. Herman's drums dance as smooth as a breeze, with a shuffle that aims just to please. In a jazz club at night, Herman swings left and right, making rhythm look groovy with ease. Ta-da!
That's wonderful.
God bless.
I love you both.
I love you too. I'm so glad we hooked up again. It's been way too long.
Okay.
And please give my love to your lovely wife.
I will.
Thank her for sparing you for an hour. Now go take her to lunch.
I know, right? Exactly. Take care, folks.
All right. HermanMatthews.com, all the latest and greatest. We'll see you kids all of a sudden. Bye-bye.
Bye.